I'd like to put it to you the way we've been putting it to the audience, and then you can correct us or expand on what we've been saying, because I don't understand it altogether. Because what it seemed like to me was you guys were getting punished for leaving your seats, because there was other people in the house doing haka, right? They didn't get punished. The people who got punished were the ones that left their seats. And then you look at things like Julianne Genter, bless her, love Julianne, left her seat, went across the house, literally touched people's things, said, sorry, got nothing. So we're trying to figure out exactly what happened altogether and why the hubbub. Julianne Genter was accused of intimidation, same word, nothing. So can you guys expand on it the way we've been thinking about it and trying to explain it? Tell us we were wrong, tell us we got it right, and we'd love to hear from you about the overall situation.
Good wānanga. Yep, Rarwiri.
Well, awesome to be here this evening, lads. I've seen your podcast come over our social media, which tells me I've got good algorithm on my computer or my phone, which pop up everywhere. That's the first thing, and just to acknowledge our quarter tonight. So, in regards to the suspensions, it's a bit of a head scratcher because we actually do not know why we've been suspended. So, there is the leaving the seats quarter that you've just shared with us. There is the quarter that's come out where they've said we were intimidating. Just to be clear, that maybe half the house was intimidated, the other half was invigorated because they all stood up and supported him. And then
there's the gallery as well.
In the gallery. And there's other corridor where we stopped a vote. We are the last party to vote in Parliament, so we didn't stand in between anybody else's vote in the House. And so you heard, Judith Collins tell a bit of a fib. Actually, they talked about the no bullshit budget. Well, she made a bullshit comment where she said that we stopped ACT from voting when actually ACT voted 2 votes before us, because it goes ACT, New Zealand first, and then us. And she said this on national radio. So I want to just put it, just to correct everybody, is that we didn't stand in between any other party's vote. We are the last party to vote, and we were still voting. And so the haka was about us doing our vote. So I'm not quite sure what the punishment is. I can tell you the standoff between us and the Privileges Committee. I think that also has a lot to do with it. I think the biggest part of it is having haka and tikanga in the House. Actually repulses some of those MPs, especially the older ones like the Judith Collins. And I think Judith Collins found an opportunity for a bit of revenge, because one of the first hakas I performed in the House when we first went in there in our first 3 years was against her and her racist rhetoric when it came to the He Puapua report as the leader of the opposition at that particular time. And so, just a bit of context around why the heavy 21 days, because that's unprecedented. You've never seen anybody get suspended for 21 days in the whole history of Parliament since 1853. Not even Muldoon, when he misled the whole country about telling a bullshit about a law. He never, he only got 2 to 3 days. And like you said, there are others like Mallard punching Tau Henare out in the foyer, and others who have done some pretty, I believe have been harsher than us, and Julianne Genter. And like you said, I've got a lot of respect for Julianne and what she stands for, her principles and values. But also, I thought that was, more severe than what we did in regards to the House. But hey, bring it on. I'll take the 21 days over an apology any day, because I will not apologise for being Māori, and I will not apologise for accessing the tools of debate that are common, or even that we use in our own spaces.
I love that you say for being Māori, because my little mate here sitting beside us, when we talked about this, as I say, as a couple of rodeo clowns, says punishing Māori when they do Māori things, punishing Māori for being Māori. What I hear you saying is you're basically saying, yeah. And we had Tanya on last week. Tanya Waikato.
Right.
And she was basically saying not only was it was okay to do it, it was appropriate, and it was the time it should have been done. So in other words, rather than saying no, don't do, speaking from someone who doesn't really understand it, although we're all trying to learn more, it was the right time to do it. Can you speak to that, to educate some of us who aren't quite so much in the space?
I think that's a really important part of the context is that, and you heard that in Judith Colonizer's Kōrero, in that, you know, every comment that's been made has been without context. So it hasn't been about, you know, this was one of the worst, probably the worst in our living time bill that has ever come to the House. It was the most, you know, revolting attack to Te Tiriti. So they've deliberately distanced that reaction to something that they were responsible for. So I think there were really two things here that are at debate. One is our tikanga makes them feel extremely uncomfortable, and we are being told that, you know, this is when you're allowed to use it and this is when you're not. And when it comes from the puku, when it comes from somewhere really deep down inside, in reaction to the politics that we've been exposed to, hundreds of thousands are being exposed to, 300,000 revolted and, you know, broke the system with the Treaty Principles Bill Select Committee process. But the other thing that I think is really important, which we said from day one, we went into a committee that was already fixed. It wasn't neutral. They would never make a jury. And so we knew this, and like, let's just make it, not call them by their names, but in that committee were people who are putting the most revolting sanctions on our people in benefits, on our rangatahi, on our families that are struggling. People who believe in arming up the police, arming up the military, and taking away all the services. Judith Collins was very, very avid, very, very vocal in her anti-equity, anti the Māori Health Authority, anti-separatist. In fact, she was doing the whole iwi kiwi for years. And so, and then we've got the other person from ACT, who is not like any other amazing immigrant that I know. So, you know, we've got these biases that are already formed, and then of course we've got, you know, the old fella, and so we've got this really, and they're fixed in a way that no other committee is, because you've got two from National, you've got the chair, Judith Collins, and then you've got Louise Upson. So it's a really fixed, not neutral committee. And I think, you know, we went into it knowing it. And I guess one of the things that they're trying to do is cover up in their process, act like they're civilized, and put a shot across the bow, not using their finger, and tell us where to go. And we've sort of gone back and told them where to go as well. And I think we have to really see this for what it is. We represent a big threat to what it is that's going on. So this isn't performative. This isn't about, you know, us having a tanny and all the way that the right wings tried to make it look. This is actually about them trying to power up and do what they've done to every other marginalised, disabled, takatapu, rainbow community, and they're pissed because they've been able to get their way and they haven't with us. And you know, watch for next week. You know, we had Chris Bishop taking a photo of us in our empty seats because we weren't there to meet him in his blue ribbon, you know, budget. Like, oh, you poor Chris. You know, he was in tears. But you know, the reality is, we had asked this government, and we need to be really clear on this. Rarwiri and I had put in a letter and asked the business committee not to delay our suspension. So next week, everyone could focus on the budget. We'd get up 50% of our caucus to get ready to do that budget without us. They then set the date. Then on Thursday, Bish comes up and does this, you know, try to save us. It's like, bullshit, Bish. Don't try and... Now, that's performative politics. We're transformative, but that's performative. So, yeah, it's my view. And they're using their political violence to cover up Māori.
The shot across the bow, but not finger guns. There's probably a finger you could possibly use to send the signal. I'm just, you know, I'm just thinking out loud, just brainstorming amongst the whānau. That's all.